Hey everyone, welcome. You ever hear these big economic terms like public debt or fiscal deficit thrown around on the news and your head starts to spin? It can feel like you need a PhD in finance just to keep up. Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. We're breaking down India's national debt, turning those mind-boggling numbers into something that actually makes sense for you and me. So let's get right into it.
So, to kick things off, let's think about something we all understand. Our own money. You've got your salary coming in, you've got your bills going out, and maybe you've got a credit card or a home loan, right? Well, in a lot of ways, a country's finances work on a similar principle, just on a massive scale. And this simple idea, it's kind of a key to understanding this whole topic. So, is the government's debt really just a giant national credit card bill? Let's find out.
All right, to really get a handle on this, we need to get super clear on three core ideas: debt, deficit, and GDP. You hear these words used all the time, sometimes even interchangeably, but they are totally different things. Nailing these definitions is step one, and it's the most important one.
First up, public debt. This is the big one, the main event. Just imagine every single loan the central government has taken out from day one that it still hasn't paid back. Add all that up, and that's the public debt. It's the grand total, the running tab that's been building up over years and years.
Okay, next we have the fiscal deficit. Now this is different because it's all about a much shorter time frame, just 1 year. It's pretty simple, really. If the government spends more money in a year on things like infrastructure, salaries, and welfare than it brings in from taxes, that gap, that shortfall for that 1 year, is the fiscal deficit.
And the third piece of our puzzle, GDP, a gross domestic product. Probably the easiest way to think about GDP is just as the country's total annual income. It's the value of everything, every product, every service that we produce as a nation in a year. It's basically the size of our entire economic pie. So, let's connect those dots using our home budget analogy. The fiscal deficit is like how much more you spent this year than you earned. Maybe you put that extra spending on your credit card. Well, that new spending gets added to your total outstanding balance. And that total balance, that's the public debt. See how it works? This year's deficit gets piled on top of the already existing mountain of debt.
Now that we know what these terms mean, how do we figure out if a country's debt is actually a problem? I mean, a huge number sounds scary, but without any context, it's just a number. Thankfully, economists have a way to put it all into perspective.
And this is it. This is the whole ballgame. The absolute number, the total debt in rupees, doesn't tell you the full story. What really matters is how big that debt is compared to the country's ability to pay it back. And what represents our ability to pay it back? Our national income, our GDP. So this ratio, the debt to GDP ratio, gives us a much clearer picture.
So what is India's number? Well, for the financial year 2024, if you combine the debt of the central government and all the state governments, it's estimated to be about 81% of our GDP. To put that in perspective, our total government debt is equal to about 4/5 of everything our economy produces in an entire year. Now, for a developing economy, many experts say that once this ratio climbs above 77%, it's something we need to watch very carefully.
But let's look a little closer at that 81% figure. It's not just one big pile of debt. The central government's debt, on its own, is around 57% of GDP. It's when you add in all the debt held by the individual state governments that you get up to that combined 81% total. And that's a key point. Managing this is a shared challenge for everyone, from New Delhi to every state capital. Okay, so the debt is significant. We've established that. But why? Why does it keep going up? Well, it's not random. There's actually a pretty clear cause and effect chain that explains how we get here. So let's walk through it. A lot of times, this cycle gets kicked off by some big, unexpected event. The pandemic is a perfect example. All of a sudden, businesses shut down, people lose jobs, and the government's tax collections plummet. But at the exact same time, the government has to spend more money on things like healthcare and relief packages. So what happens? The gap between income and spending for that year, the fiscal deficit, gets much wider. To fill that gap, the government has no choice but to borrow more. And every single rupee it borrows just gets added to the total public debt.
Now, I know this can all sound like a very high-level government problem, but the truth is it has very real consequences that ripple all the way through the economy and end up affecting every single one of us. This is the part where we talk about why you should care.
So why does it matter? Well, for starters, a huge chunk of the taxes we pay has to go just to cover the interest on the debt.
That's money that can't be spent on new schools, better roads, or hospitals. Then, there's something called the crowding out effect. When the government borrows so much money, it can leave less available for private businesses, making it harder for them to expand and create jobs. On the world stage, high debt can hurt our country's credit rating, which makes it more expensive for everyone in the country to borrow in the future. And, in a worst-case scenario, it can lead to pressures that devalue our currency, making everything you buy more expensive.
But, and this is a really important but, not all debt is bad. You have to ask, what is the money being used for? See, there's a world of difference between borrowing money to build something productive, like a new highway or a power plant that will boost the economy for decades to come, and borrowing money just to pay the bills for today. One is an investment in the future, the other is just covering running costs. The quality of the spending is everything.
And you know, that really leaves us with the fundamental challenge at the heart of all of this. Running a country's finances is a constant, delicate balancing act. You have to take care of people's urgent needs today, healthcare, education, safety nets, while at the same time making sure you're not just kicking an enormous can down the road, leaving an impossible pile of bills for the next generation. It's the ultimate tightrope walk.